Hello everyone, I'm Crow77, and today we're doing another Paifu review. Now a quick note about this one. This one's from one of my ARML matches, that's the American Riichi Mahjong League. One of the big differences between that and ladder is not only the cumulative score, but it also doesn't have red door in it, a game mode called Akanashi. Wanted to go through a couple differences on how that really affects play. First of all, as might be obvious, Dora are even more valuable when you have them. Reason for that, you only have 4 Dora naturally at the start of the game versus the 7 you normally have on Tenho or Mahjong Soul. So that way when you draw them, you're most likely going to need them to be able to make your hand those bigger hands, those Mangans and up. So people tend to hold on to them a lot more. Secondly, also might be a little bit obvious, you tend to play more aggressively when you do have those good hands. If someone else reaches, but I have 4 Dora in my hand already, even if I'm 1 or 2 from Tenpai, I might still continue to push that. Because with that reach coming out, it's still a lot less likely that their hand is worth a lot of points because I know where all the Dora are. And lastly, forcing Honitsu or Chinitsu is much more common. Now, Honitsu being a half flush, Chinitsu being a full flush, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. Because, especially for Honitsu, if you have a Yakuhai hand, it's 1,000 points. But if you can discard a couple things a couple different ways and get it into a Honitsu instead, that brings it up to 3,900. Without any extra red Dora or anything like that to supplement your score, it's usually one of the easiest ways to increase your hand value. But that's enough of that rambling for now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the game. Alright, and here we go. So pretty average starting hand at this point. We can accept a Dora if we draw one, which is always a good thing. But nothing really to write home about just yet. We do kind of want to keep an eye on the 4-5-6 area, because it looks like we could possibly get a Sanshoku in that, but that's still a long way off. A couple decent draws here. The reason I'm holding on to this 9 specifically right now, I'm probably going to discard the 9 mon before it, is just looking for Itsu. So that is the 1 through 9 pure straight. It's something that this 9 doesn't really take up a lot of space in the hand or anything like that, so I'd rather hold on to it than not.
Home.
A little bit awkward drawing the 4 there with that sort of idea. No, okay. So still holding on to this 9 again for the same reason. Still need to pick up one more block. I've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6 in a pair. So between the 9, 7, and 4, I need to find one more block to be able to complete the hand. So keeping the floating tiles around, it's a little bit worse to discard the 4 as far as efficiency goes, but I don't really want to be winning with just a 1,000-point hand if I do connect something to that 4.
Eat.
And that said, with this reach coming out, it gets a little bit more awkward. So that's a good draw here. I think it makes sense just to drop the 7. Yeah, so 7 playing defensively. There's really no reason not to at this point. This pair of 9s is pretty much locked in as my pair. See, this is what I'm talking about with being a little bit more aggressive, but at the same time, I'm not sure if this is the place for it. That said, like I said, the 4, 5, 6 Sanshoku is there. So this does have a pretty good bit of potential. He has an early 2 discard right there. And I think I'm okay with the 1 discard. If I hadn't done that, there isn't really too much that's safe. Obviously, this 2 right here would be just fine because the player to my left discarded it. But I think I am okay with this. The 1 looks good enough on the board that it makes sense. So I have some more options to fold here if I need to, and this might be the tile to do it on. With the dealer showing aggression, it looks like they're on a half flush or something like that. This might be the time to fold, because the only other real option would be discarding this 4. Yeah, and that's the choice I made, so I'm pretty happy about that decision. Dealer could be Tenpai here. That is kind of unfortunate. It would have eventually drawn the Itsu Tenpai there, but that was probably too far off. It would have changed a lot of things about this game so far. So go ahead and risk that red dragon. Was that the right play to make? There's 4 2-so on the board. So discarding this 1 isn't completely unreasonable, except we don't see any of the 1s. They've got to be somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where. I'll check at the end of the hand. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. As far as safe tiles go, nothing else is super safe except for this 8. So yeah, in hindsight, I think this 8 is a better discard than the red dragon. kind of did find it there. Pretty straightforward, trying to fold out, and unfortunately they've got a massive hand, and they drew the good side of it too. So that's a Riichi Sumo Chanta Riichi Sumo Chanta. Sanshoku. I knew I was missing something, come on. Alright, well, obviously not the way you want to start out a league match. One quick note about the UMA for this league. If you're over 30,000 points, your UMA will always be positive, so you'll never end up with a negative score. So placement kind of becomes a big thing in this sort of game. So that's something that I'll kind of be playing towards as this game goes on, trying to hit above that 30,000 point mark. Alright, next hand. Decent one, have a lot of honors to get rid of, so I'm going to start doing that right here. Potential for the 1-2-3 Sanshoku as well. And here playing pretty efficiently. With this player calling the red dragons, gotta watch out again for that Honitsu to see if they start pushing that. Looks like I'm angling a little bit towards an option for the outside hand, probably a Junchan. It's unlikely here, but at the same time, this 9 isn't really that bad of a tile to be drawing. And drew the 4 side of it instead, so cutting the 9 makes sense. So here a couple different options could come up. This could potentially be a Tanyao hand. It's kind of hard, you need 2 4s and a 7, but if we do start drawing that direction, it can just make sense to drop the 1-2 anyway. Okay, so cutting that off, trying to keep more central shapes and improving that sort of Tanyao chance. Seems alright to me. And that's an unfortunate draw. Drawing that with the 9 in the discards is a little bit weird, but it probably makes sense to hold on to, just because of the Dora. So if you end up drawing a Dora, it integrates very nicely there. Go ahead and drop the 4. So reading that this is probably safe right now, since the player to our right is the only one really showing aggression. And I'd rather keep this north wind around. We're kind of at that point in the game where I want to have a safe tile against anyone, and the north wind doesn't look too bad. And it looks like it's just in time, so have a player reaching across the board and an immediate call of it too. So pretty safe east wind here. 2 of them out, 1 of them from the Riichi player. And never even have to make another hard decision there, so player to our left gets the win. And we're okay with that outcome. Kind of puts us into a very low second. Alright, so another weird hand here. This one is screaming to be an outside hand, so just go ahead and discard that 5 right here. Potential for the Sanshoku Doko, so 1-1-1 in each suit. So that would be a fantastic hand if I can pick that one up. So went ahead and called that there, and oh, it looks like I'm actually hard forcing here. So this could actually turn into all terminals or Honroto, which is all terminals and honors. So really kind of pushing that hard. I don't know if this is the right play or not, but at the same time, cutting off 1 tile from your Ugeire for some really big hand options seems okay to me. Okay, so just cutting off a couple honors. Find that. So it's not going to be all terminals, which makes sense because that's a very rare hand. But this is perfectly fine to get that set of dragons. Now it actually makes a little bit of sense that people would be less likely to suspect what I have in my hand, because if you call this, it could just be because you have a couple 7s or different things like that. So it kind of disguises, so to speak, exactly what my hand shape is. That said, the early 5 discard, I don't know how many people I'm actually fooling. Player across from us looks like they might be folding already, which is interesting to have 2 west winds come out like that. We do pick up the 8. Makes sense to just go ahead and integrate it. We can still have the Chanta hand across here. So Chanta 1 Dora with the white dragon is not bad. It'll be 5,200 points usually. Pretty much always with this hand shape though. So it's interesting that this player is kind of calling. We have to worry about Dora a little bit, so I'm really not expecting the 9-8 to be callable at this point. We'll probably have to draw the Dora ourselves. Okay. And it's, okay, so here we go. So it's Tenpai. Can't do the Sancho Kodoko at this point, unfortunately, because it just does not make sense to discard away a Dora shape. So we're probably just going to be waiting on this. We have a couple options for safety if we need it. From the player to our left, if they start to look real dangerous, we have just the 9 discard, but not a ton of them, so we're probably going to be pushing this one pretty significantly. I want a con coming out. So that's a little bit terrifying, honestly. This 6 is probably still fine because it's Nakasuji to the 3 and the 9, but really have to keep an eye on what's going on to our left here. Yeah, luckily safe tile is drawn, just a 5,200 point hand. So sure enough, they were waiting on the Dora there. Yeah, 2 Dora. Nothing I can really do about that there. Got my hand together as quickly as possible. Where were those 5 or 1s? So there was exactly 1 here. And 2 of them in the dead wall. So those were never coming out, unfortunately. There's 1 farther down the line there, but that's pretty deep. That's kind of unfortunate for how good this hand looked that all the weights were so far away. Okay, so another kind of middling hand. Can use it to break the deal quickly to try to stay out of last place. That's usually better on something like Tenho. Really, I need to build up my score and get above that 30,000 mark like I was mentioning. Yeah, just playing pretty normally, playing for efficiency here, so a fast reach should be able to push him off the dealer hand as well. And I went ahead and took the safe tile here, so I must be planning on opening. That's one thing I tend to do quite a bit, is if I intend to call hands and open them, I try to keep around some kind of safe tile to be able to bail, because you have a lot less options once you start calling. So I'm probably looking at this right now. I think I'm going to drop the 8-9 here, maybe even looking at a possible Honitsu, but it could be kind of far away. It just really depends on what we draw at this point. Not really punished because this wasn't much better than what we have anyway. Okay, and the Honitsu isn't happening. So went ahead and discard that. I'm not sure I like that. It might just make sense to drop the 1-3 here instead. The 3 can't really upgrade to any shapes, but you probably still hold on to it because the 3 through 6 shape can still make a decent one. But the call comes out here. Okay, yeah, this seems fine. Alright, so now it's just kind of waiting to see if my weight comes out. With it being more central tiles, unfortunately, it's not the easiest one as compared to like a 1-4 or a 6-9 weight. But it's not too bad overall. Yeah, and there it is. So cheap hand, but again, trying to stay as far away from last place as possible. So kind of shutting it down, especially when I was looking at the hand after drawing the 7-8-9, I really didn't think that it was going to be able to go to Honitsu or anything more valuable. So I think shutting it down, just calling out the hand and taking the 1,000 points makes sense. Alright, so pair of east wind, but we're out of the east round now, we're in the south. 1 Dora, pretty good shapes overall, so this is a pretty good hand. Just need to draw a little bit to help it out. Obviously holding onto the south wind right now because the south is a double wind for me. Kind of awkward draws there. That's not bad. So here we could be on a reach weight for 5 and east. So we'll need to see if that happens. This also allows us to kind of switch around and discard the pair of east. Nothing too exciting. Player to our left is kind of interesting. We see the 1 Tadashi and then another 1 Tadashi. So it's possible with these kind of close shapes they're discarding, they're either getting close to Tenpai or they're on a Honitsu. But the Honitsu seems unlikely with the pattern of discards so far, so they're most likely just close to Tenpai. Alright, nice little improvement here, can end up discarding the 7-9. Now one thing that I talked about in the previous video was if you were discarding a 1-3 or 7-9, you want to do outside in if you have a shape to improve. And obviously the Shabo, the 5-5 east-east weight isn't the best, but at the same time the east wind is pretty likely to come out as a guest wind for the round. It's kind of a weird situation overall, but I think it was just me trying to disguise what's going on over here, just kind of trying to imply that I'm on a good weight. And I end up drawing the east wind anyway, so it's a reach only, but it's a good shape, so I think it makes sense to just go ahead and take this reach. If we were to draw the last east, we would go ahead and con it. But we just draw the 2. Pretty good situation overall. So we have the 1 Dora, reach sumo. So 4,000 points plus the reach stick back. So that puts us up above 30,000. Pretty good spot to be. Still only in second right now, obviously, with only being above 30,000. So we're trying to target this guy on the right here, and this is a pretty decent hand to do it. Lots of completed shapes so far. 1 Dora that hopefully we can pair up to use, as our pair for the hand. But we'll just have to see what we draw. Unfortunately, he kind of has the same idea that I did in a previous round, trying to open up the hand, call it quickly to stay out of danger. Can't blame him. Yeah, nothing too exciting. Now, this does allow us to go into the E-Peiko, the double run, with a Suji trap out already, which is a pretty good spot overall. So we'll have to see if that happens or not, and this is nice. So yeah, discarding 7, taking the big weight here. The 6 is safe against the person who's pushing. That's a pretty good spot to be. Oh, and unfortunately, don't quite get there in time. Player across from us discards the 2. Now the good news there, it pushes last down into farther last, so it reduces the likelihood that we will be last. But obviously bad that it happened on our deal. Alright, still moving right along. Another decent hand. 1 Dora with no real shapes near it, unfortunately, yet. So player across from us calling this early. This is definitely something we need to watch out for, either Honitsu or a lot of Dora. Generally, if you're this far behind, you don't make this quick call. You're really trying to get up to 30,000 at this point. So trying to just stay attentive to it. So you see a couple Manzu. Drawing a set near the door here is very nice. Discarding the 8's a little odd. I don't know if it's necessary to keep 2 safe tiles around. I think discarding the red dragon might have been better here. And immediately punished for it. Do find the red dragon discard here. Okay, so here's where I'm deciding that I really want to open it up and have some more options. Kind of an awkward draw here too. So I'm just kind of pushing here, aren't I? So player across from us, if they're on a Honitsu, it's going to be the Sozu. So not too worried about my discard so far. Obviously that one being directly safe. So we're just kind of moving along, and that reach is annoying. I've got plenty of safe tiles, so I'm not too concerned about it, but after this hand, they're almost certainly going to be above me, and there's no way I can push that forward. So yeah, just bowing out here, and they get the sumo. So we'll keep on going. Alright, so another decent hand here in South 4. So at this point, we really only need 1,000 points, right? So we just want to be able to get above that benchmark, above that 30,000, just to avoid the negative UMA. Because basically that's a 6,000 point win. Because you go from a -5 UMA in 3rd place, in under 30,000, to a +1 in 3rd place above 30,000. So that's a pretty good swing just from the UMA. Obviously any hand winnings on top of that is just benefit. But this hand is really not progressing in a way that makes sense to push for value. So can go to Tanyao here, and it looks like that is what I do. So the thinking here is that Tanyao is a callable hand. Obviously you can have an open Tanyao. So at this point, since I just need that 1,000 points, that's what I'm going for. So I do like that, I think. Yeah, seems reasonable. Now this is terrifying. I went ahead and made the hard decision to call this tile. Having 3 of the 7s, the 8 is a bit better. It's not really ideal either way because it's near the reach tile discard. but it does put me on 10 pi, so we're kind of fighting at this point for it. And I've just got to keep pushing. I don't know if I have too much of a choice left at this point, and luckily I do get the sumo here. So get the sumo, get the reach stick on top of it. Nice little benefit, not quite enough to put me up at the second, but finish with a meager 1.5 thousand victory. Well, I'll call it a victory. Third place above 30,000. So that's about it, I think. I don't think there was too much I wanted to see. I'm curious what the dealer was on here. So dealer waiting on 3-6, actually. So the 8 discard, or sorry, the 7 discard makes sense. They might have just improved that shape to Paifu.
Riichi.
Yeah, so that was actually a great draw for him. So improving to Paifu, and that's one reason you really need to be careful about the reach tile discards. A lot of times there's a lot of shapes near it, and whether or not it's the last shape they filled is pretty much a 50-50. So it's something you gotta watch out for. So that's about it for this review. As always, thanks for watching. I enjoy doing some of these more informal things sometimes, so I can take a look at my own games and kind of do a little bit looser style. So if you enjoy this sort of thing, or have any other ideas for similar styles or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment below or send me a message. Thanks. Have a good one.